To discuss this, we're joined by Kate Hills, who's founder of the website and campaign Make It British, and Robin Parker, who founded Drift Innovation, which makes action cameras for the sports industry using a manufacturer abroad. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Okay, the difficulty is, as we've seen in the film there, buying only British is, A, it's hard to find the stuff, and B, it's generally more expensive.
Yes, but it's not as hard as it used to be. There are more ways to find products made in Britain. The problem is that retailers don't label products and what their country of origin is. If there was a clearer labelling system and made it easier for the general public to choose, then maybe it would be. And also, as regards the price, yes, sometimes they are more expensive, but if you buy products of better quality, which generally British goods, I would argue that British goods are, then they will last longer. And as the old adage goes, you buy cheaply, you buy twice.
Robin, you are a British company, but
yes.
If somebody looked at your product, it would not say made in Britain.
It definitely wouldn't. I guess as a business, we follow the trend of consumer electronic manufacturing, and our company simply would not have existed or been able to compete internationally if we hadn't followed the trend of manufacturing in the Far East. But it doesn't say that we don't support the British economy. And I guess the wider argument is, as a business, we may not manufacture in the UK, but we support the British economy by employing staff and paying British taxes.
You don't want a campaign then which says just buy British.
I fully support the message that Kate promotes, and really supportive of what the Bradshaw family are trying to achieve. I just think in challenging economic climates, it's not always as simple, and for your average consumer, just not feasible to always buy British.
You could argue that also that the principle smacks of protectionism a bit. I mean, if consumers in every country did this, world trade would grind to a halt, wouldn't it?
But in the long term, and I'm thinking several decades in the future, currently products are cheaper to buy from the Far East. But what about when the labour costs rise in China? And obviously we're seeing, import duties and costs of importing goods are rising. So one day, in 20 years' time, when actually the goods to buy abroad are more expensive than here, and we can't make anything anymore because we haven't saved our manufacturing base, then we're going to be importing everything, and then the cost of living will rise astronomically.
Hey, Robin, can you see a time when you would be able to bring your manufacturing back?
I think as a business, you're constantly assessing where it's simpler and it makes financial sense to manufacture products. Right now, I can't see a future of bringing up our manufacturing back to the UK, but the way I look at it is as part of the global economy. We keep a lot of the high-skilled jobs in Britain, so we keep sales, design, engineering, marketing, customer support in Britain, which are the things that for our business and for our brand are the most important.
Kate, a couple of people have been in touch to point out that the way that the Bradshaws are sourcing a lot of their products, of course, is on a laptop that wasn't made. Or
and obviously there are some products that we don't make at all here anymore, electronics mainly being one of them. So once their mobile phone or their laptop breaks in the next 12 months, which I hope it doesn't, then they may be forced to go back to old-fashioned call boxes.
And you run this campaign pretty much full time. What percentage of things that you buy is British, and what's the hardest thing for you to get hold of?
The hardest thing to get hold of, I suppose, is electrical goods. Ladies' shoes. We haven't got the same ladies' footwear manufacturing base here as we do have for men's. We've still got a strong men's footwear manufacturing base here, but not
You avoid the temptation to buy Italian shoes, do you?
I do sometimes still buy Italian shoes, but I also don't buy. I don't buy lots of cheap imported goods. I make sure that I buy a few products that will last me longer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to talk to you both, Kate and Robin. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Indeed. We're joined by Kate Hills, founder of website and campaign Make It British, and alongside her, Robin Parker, who founded Drift Innovation, which makes action cameras for the sports industry using a manufacturer not in the UK but abroad.
Indeed.
Because?
As a startup, we simply could not have existed and created the company if we had looked to manufacture our products in the UK.
So the cold, harsh reality you're saying is that
to compete internationally, we had to follow the trend of where consumer electronics are made, and that was the Far East. But what we have done is we've made sure that our focus of the UK jobs has been on the higher skilled stuff like the design, engineering, sales, marketing.
So you are British people.
Yes.
I mean, Kate, as the Bradshaws are discovering, it's pretty difficult to live a solely British consumer existence.
The Bradshaws have taken it to the extreme, and even I don't advocate living a totally British lifestyle. It is impossible. We still have to trade from other countries. However, there are certain products that we make here and we've traditionally made very well. I mean, the Industrial Revolution started in Britain. Things like textiles, pottery, industries that we're losing, and we're in danger of losing altogether if we don't still support them. So,
and they are trying to buy and use products which are not just made in Britain, but they are made in Britain by British-owned companies. So there are products which are manufactured in Britain, which they could buy, but unless the company is British as well, that's a big ask.
It's very difficult. And some of our best companies have, Mulberry, for instance, have been bought out by an international company, but they still manufacture in Britain and they're growing their manufacturing base in the UK. Maybe it's...
Right. What's your view on British companies selling items with material that's been brought in from abroad? Does that count or not?
No, that still counts. That's still... I think as long as a part of it's manufactured here. What is annoying is when brands buy the material from the UK but manufacture abroad and stick a great big Union Jack label in the product and try and pass something off as British, because they don't always label it as where it's made. So they'll say British fabric or British design, but it's not actually truly manufactured here.
But Robin, your interpretation of a British company, of course, is slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah, in a global economy, we've got to compete internationally, and as a small business, that's exactly what we had to do. We had to look at our manufacturing in the Far East, but we're still very proud of the fact that we design our products in the UK.
And you'd want people to support your company as a British company?
We're a British company, we pay British taxes, and we employ staff in Britain. So I don't see that as necessarily any worse than a made in Britain.
And the trouble is the goalposts are shifting all the time. And Mal's got in touch this morning saying that a while ago he bought some wellies because they were proudly made in Britain. Then his wife went to get a pair of the same brand and discovered that they're now made in China.
Unfortunately, in the UK it will be bound down to price, and consumers have got used to shopping solely on price these days and don't necessarily think about quality and longevity.
If consumers in every country around the world pursued this policy, world trade would grind to a halt, wouldn't it?
I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't buy products from abroad as well, but we should support the industries that we do have here, that we've always traditionally made here.
Robin, you mentioned tax, and of course companies paying tax here has been such a big issue recently. Do you sense that there is that kind of feeling amongst some consumers that some of them want to buy products where they know that the tax on the profits that are being made are going back into the UK?
I would hope so. I do believe consumers would take that to heart, and I think some of the press that you mentioned about has been quite good in focusing attention on British companies that pay British taxes.
Of course, the Bradshaws were looking at a laptop, computer and film. Lots of people getting in touch this morning saying that wasn't made in Britain.
No, but they do still make the Raspberry Pi here, but they will have trouble, particularly with electronics, because we don't make that many here anymore.
Robin, what do you think is particularly good that's still made in Britain? What is it? Is it for you? Is it inventions and design? And...
Well, I think some of the more premium price products. I know your website, Kate's website, puts a lot of focus on those. Are the higher end shoes, the higher end clothing stuff. I think that's stuff that is great to be made in Britain, and it's fantastic that we're still supporting that.
All right. Well, thank you both very much.
Good to see you.